And let's begin Beyond Exile. Lawrence John's Beyond Exile. I know how men in exile feed on dreams. The first chapter is called That's the Way It Is. And our only option is to go here to the Sierras. Scene 1, a hiking path through the Sierras. And our only option is to go north. Scene 2, a nice hike through the high Sierras. They escape to the high Sierras, bumpy back roads from Nevada side, listening to the Mozart of swift dropping streams, the jazz of ridgeline pines, making love in mossy hollows, sheltered from the mad sting of memory. We see Heraclitus, a dog, and then Frank and Erin as two characters. But Heraclitus is jealous, sprinting for the lakeside boulders, and the dog is gone. Looking at Frank. And when Frank comes, he's thinking of his dog. We look at Erin. Now Erin knows her Red King is approaching the end of his reign. When we look or speak, nothing happens. We're just an observer of these two people. Eventually we look at Frank again, at which time it says, "You are Frank." So now we are in this scene, and we are looking at our girl Erin. Frank looks at Erin. She doesn't do anything. He tries to speak to her. She says nothing. So Frank has to leave Erin and go east to the third scene, an eastern ridge of the Sierras. There's nothing else in this area. He goes east again. A ridge line overlooking lakeside boulders. In this area he sees Heraclitus, a dog. This is where the dog is run off to. When he looks at the dog runs away again. At which point Frank can return to the previous screen, going west to the eastern ridge of the Sierras. Go west once again. And we're back to a nice hike through the Sierras with Erin. We look at her this time. In cool parenthesis, she watches him dress. And now Heraclitus has returned. Watches Heraclitus rush up and drop a white mole on her foot. It must not be very pleasant. Her reaction as you look at her. This is the image introducing the final frames. You are Erin now. Okay, now it's Erin looking at Heraclitus and Frank. She looks at the dog. She stops giving the dog scraps. I don't think she's pretty happy with this animal. She looks at Frank. And Frank hides his pain. There's no other interaction between these two characters. So Erin decides to take a walk out east. And here at the eastern ridge of the Sierras is a new direction. We can now go south from the eastern ridge. Which takes us to the nylon hammock at the campsite, which is in this area right here. Now she believes camping is a bore. She's sick of hard luck stories around the fire, sick of hippie refugees from the Haight, tired of eating acid for breakfast, to waffle the same mystic anticipations. Now she shadows the caravans, looking for a strong new consort, stops giving the dog scraps, stops cooking meat, stops conceding the moment to feed some momentous future. Now she's vegetarian, organic brown rice and steamed veggies. She has a plan. While she continues to go south from here, the curvy switchbacks of the hiking trail, leaving the Sierras, hiking 1,000 feet, back to the van, back to civilization. She continues going south, puts us into scene 7, the local general store. And here we see that Heraclitus and Frank have joined her, following her lead. The clerk of the store, and there's a paid telephone. Here's a new character, the clerk. Let's look at the clerk for a second. It says the elderly store clerk. And the elderly store clerk says to Frank, "What will it be?" And we have some choices here. We need some food. Would you have any scraps for my dog? We're out of cash, but let's see. When you click on option 3, we're out of cash, but nothing happens. Let's try one of the other options. Would you have any scraps for my dog? To Frank, I can round up something. Could you tell us where we are? We're in need of supplies. Let's go with the second option there. What do you have to trade then? I'm not sure, or, oh, a little green, you know, it would be very kind. Let's try that one. He winks. Here's everything you need. And then in parentheses, Frank and Heraclitus leave the store with supplies. So they got what they needed, and they traded some grass to get that, what they wanted. And Frank hides his pain as he swaps grass for porterhouse bones and Dinty Moor beef stew. Now the mountains are too compromised to protect the exhilarating trails that wrote their romance. And let's see if the clerk has something to say to Erin. And he says to Erin, "What will it be, miss? Nothing for me, thanks, or could you spare a quarter for the telephone?" That sounds like the right one. And to Erin he goes, "I'm afraid not. Everything here is long distance. Thanks, I'll just make a collect call." The phone has a dial tone. We look at the phone. The clerk enables the phone, so he permits her to make a collect phone call. She takes the phone, and Erin calls her father, the Navy Admiral in San Diego. She's registered pre-law at the University of Oregon. She's got a duplex at 619 Onyx Street, 5 blocks south of campus. So, she's gotten, and the whole party has left the general store. We're going westbound here. And with the van, they return to, you see Heraclitus, Frank, and Erin in a Ford van up here in the top corner. And it says merging onto California Highway 89. And in the photo here is the off-ramp, and you see some redwoods in the distance, and here is a side view mirror of the van. And it says, look at the road north. It is a long drive to Oregon. Alright, let's take the road north. 16 miles, 47 miles, 84 miles, 121 miles. We get to scene 9. Alright, so we've made some distance from the camping. Scene 9, an icy rest area through Mount Shasta. And now you see these supplies that Frank got from the general store. Look at the stove. A small twin burner camping stove. Take that. Gas. It is fuel for the stove. Take that. Matches. Click on that. The kind that lights stoves. We'll take that. Dog bones. Pretty obvious. Someone's hungry. Take that. And a can of stew, and it says you might want to heat it up first. So we'll use our first objects, and we'll get the stove going to heat up some stew for the cold travelers here. So we take gas, highlight the gas, and put it on the stove. In the stove, you fill the stove with gas. Take the matches, and you light the pilot of the stove. You light the stove. And let's see here. Well, let's give the dog bones to the dog. Dog bones to Heraclitus. Man's best friend gnaws on the bones. Everybody is eating here. Let's look at the can of stew now. And it says, it's tough snow at Mount Shasta. Stuck 2 hours while it's plowed ahead, lighting a Sherman's in the frigid air. You are Erin. And she looks at Frank. She tells him she's never wanted kids. That's the way it is. And here in this scene it says Erin's speaking monologue. This means that Erin is going to go into a long... Maybe you should get a job, Frank. Maybe father can arrange something. Reality is where first will hits the wall, where it becomes second will. Reality is recall, Frank. The light of revolution has failed. Love and hate have decomposed, deconstructed. We must adapt to adaptive life. It's insane to go on fighting when everything is lost, and nobody cares. Ricky, Feather, Sammy, Parker. The diggers are dead. The hate is dead. The counterculture is dead. The revolution died at People's Park, Kent State. Now it's the myth of me. Survival is our best memorial. If we don't change, our sacrifices are forgotten, our demise. You're in denial, Frank. You fight because you do not know what else to do. Nixon's in the White House. Disco and porn dictate fashion. Terrorism conditions thought. It's time to get a career. You can't be a lone wolf forever. You are Frank. Wow. She had a lot on her mind, didn't she? And Frank looks at his girl and says, "Not forever. How can you recover from these cold shots? Erin's his love, his destiny. Only now does he understand how much he wants a son. Erin's his beautiful cosmic wife. So why doesn't she want kids? If it's the truth, his natural instinct was off, and every dawning day tracks back to his delusion. If it's a lie, she's decided to cut him in the liver that never heals. And there's nothing more to say." Here we can see, look to the road to Eugene. The city hosts the University of Oregon. This might not be a fun drive. And this is where Erin's enrolled in school. So the two are in the process of apparently breaking up, it would seem, and they take the long drive to Oregon, to Eugene, Oregon. 58 miles, California-Oregon border. 67 miles, Medford, Oregon. 158 miles. And in scene 10, we've arrived in the city of Eugene, Oregon. And that's where we're going to stop this chapter of Beyond Exile, with chapter 1 concluding. And the next time I'll do this, chapter 2 will be called The Face of Pythagoras. Thank you for watching this, and I'll hope you continue this adventure with Beyond Exile.